inflammation, this is what it was a form of cortisol. The extra cortisol will pin down that inflammation, keep it in check. Questions on the adrenal cortex? Pancreas is our last major gland that we're going to look at. It is both endocrine and exocrine. The exocrine role is part of the digestive system. So we'll look at that when we get to the digestive chapter. The endocrine role is primarily in blood glucose balance. It has a couple of other hormones that are less directly affecting glucose. The hormones are made in clusters of cells called islets. Now we just call them pancreatic islets, but they used to be called islets of Langerhans. Lots of things in anatomy were named after whoever first discovered them in the microscope or knew what they did. And we're getting away from a lot of that because a lot of it's hard to remember. It's like, okay, I don't know who Odie and Havers and Langerhans were. I don't remember what they did, but I can remember that it's a pancreatic islet. It's in the pancreas. The cell types are named for Greek letters. We have beta cells that produce insulin, alpha cells that produce glucagon. The only other one I'm going to mention is delta cells that produce something called somatostatin. Here's a look at the pancreas, wide view, and then the histology. In this diagram, these clusters with blood vessels running through them are the islets. The ones that open into ducts are part of the digestive functions. On the slide, the islets are lighter, and you can sort of see, it's not so great on this view, that there are cells around the outside with a space in the other structures. So, glucagon increases blood glucose. It acts mainly on the liver, same as cortisol does, to tell it to break down glycogen and build new glucose and release them into circulation. Insulin decreases blood glucose, and it is the only hormone that can do that. How it does it is by telling certain cells to take in more glucose and store it for later. The liver and muscle store glycogen, and the adipose tissue can convert the glucose into fat for long-term storage. And then somatostatin, this is stat like stasis, as in homeostasis, standing still. Somato is the body. Basically it means body not changing. What it does is inhibit growth hormone secretion. It's the same as one of the control hormones, tropic hormones from the hypothalamus. I suspect that the reason we also have some from the pancreas is the pancreas is monitoring some of your food that you've absorbed from your digestive tract, although most of that goes straight to the liver. And it might be saying, we don't really have enough to work with, so let's hold off on that growth for now. So for blood glucose homeostasis, your major hormones that just look at how much glucose is in the blood and raise or lower it are insulin and glucagon, and they oppose each other. In special circumstances, these other three hormones can raise blood glucose as part of their other effects. Epinephrine gets you the energy to deal with your immediate stress. Cortisol gets you the energy to deal with your long-term stress. And growth hormone gets you the energy for protein synthesis to grow or repair your tissues. So this is your two-part homeostatic loop for blood glucose. If it's low, release glucagon, liver puts more glucose into the circulation. If it's high, release insulin, cells that can store the glucose take more in.